Hi everyone,
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Matt Flechter, Recycling Market Development Specialist with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. And I've got pictures and slides and that sort of thing, so I'm gonna get this going right here. I'm really glad to be here and thanks for breakfast. I met Penny at a recycling market development forum a couple of weeks ago where hey Penny, could you help me get this
Sure.
fired up and see what's going on? I think it had something to do with the TV. I think it shut off. So what if I did, so I didn't have to hold this, if I did this, can you hear me okay, or should I, can you hear me okay, like this? That way I don't have to have it up close and blast your ears. So we did a recycling market development forum up at Treetops a couple of weeks ago, and I met Penny as she was there learning about our recycling markets and what's happening in this state. And I'm going to walk you through about 15 minutes of what Michigan's recycling landscape is. Again, I'm Matt Flechter, Recycling Market Development Specialist with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. That's a state agency that oversees protecting our air, land, and water. So I work in a really unique place. I work in business development, but in an environmental agency. And so what I continually do is find those opportunities to talk about how having a strong environment, a healthy, clean environment, benefits our economy. And recycling is a great way to do that. Recycling is that connecting piece between the economy and the environment. The materials that we put in our trash have the opportunity to turn into new products that we build here in Michigan. A domestic, I'll probably say this 2 or 3 times, a domestic supply chain of materials. Instead of importing it from other states, we've got it right here. But instead, what are we doing? In too many places, we're putting it into a hole in the ground, and then we're importing more, paying tariffs on more. So thinking about how that system works and what we can all do to affect that system for the betterment of our communities is what I spend my days doing. But first, a little bit about me. I drove down late last night, from Traverse City, Michigan. I cover the whole state. We have a team of people that I'll introduce you to in a minute that work on growing Michigan's recycling markets. They work on education. They work on building the infrastructure so that you have a place at your house to put your, this is making noise, isn't it? Rubbing around or something. I'm not sure why it's doing that. We'll get it fixed by the next speaker, I promise. Work on education, they work on markets, they work on building the infrastructure. We have tools and resources for you so that you can build those recycling programs. They also work to make sure businesses have access to education, infrastructure, and markets. Our materials management system is dependent on businesses recycling material at their business so that those materials that you can buy at the store are made from recycled materials. And it depends on you at your household using the systems in place and putting the stuff in the right bin and doing it correctly, and then having it so that those businesses can build the material, buy the material, and move it back into the system. So I want to ask you, I have a prediction of how many hands are going to go up, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. How many people have recycling at your house right now, where you live? So I'm going to say 1/3 of you. What do you agree with that? So I actually predicted half, because the reason I predicted half was because we are data driven here. We know how much is recycled, thankfully. I spent many years trying to get a system in place to measure and calculate our recycling. We have a state law that requires recycling facilities to report to us. And we know our current recycling rate is 25%. Our goal is 30% by 2029. We're going up, thankfully, at about 1.5% a year. We were the lowest. I think it's if I stand right here. I think this is the no-go zone. So keep that. Let's see if that helps. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just hearing it. You hear me okay? Good. So we know that our recycling rate is 25%. Our goal is 30% by 2029. We're going up at about 1.5% a year. Sorry, Penny, I'm moving around a lot here. And that's a municipal solid waste recycling rate. We were the lowest in the Great Lakes region. Now we're about mid-level. Minnesota still has us beat a little bit, but we're in the top 10 states. We have moved up into the top 10 states in the country for recycling. We were down in the bottom 10 states 10 years ago. It's a big deal. And the reason that we're able to do that is because we have funding, we have technical assistance, and we have communities that care. And people like you who know, after this talk, hopefully, you're going to go tell people how big of a deal recycling is. We know what's going into our landfills. You can't see that in the back probably, but that says that 84% of material is recoverable in today's circular economy. And I think we just got music on. We're all right, we're partying. So that means that of all the stuff that you are creating at your house or at your business, 84% of it could be making it into the system, turning it into new plastic products, into new cars, textiles, but we're only getting 25%. So we've got a lot of room to grow, and we're making real progress. So, and talking about some of our team, Michigan does have a long history of being leaders in recycling. Phil, turn it up, we're dancing. A long history of environmental protection and manufacturing. And we deploy about $15 million a year into grants into communities like yours, right here, to do your materials management planning, to grow your infrastructure and set up drop-off and curbside collection programs, to work in schools, to make sure your businesses know about why they should put the stuff in the right bin and why they should buy products made from recycled materials. So, if Michigan's recycling rate tripled, and I just now noticed on this slide that it says tripled, but we're at 25%. So, well, it's actually, I wrote this slide, the top of it, not the bottom data, but the top of it, 10 years ago when our recycling rate was 15%, as I mentioned, one of the lowest in the Great Lakes states. Now we're at 25%, but when we achieve a 45% recycling rate, which is our ultimate stretch goal in this state, we will have $33 billion of total economic output from those multiplier effects that you all know about. You're in this business. This is a room of economic development folks. You understand multiplier effects? Yes.
Does that include beverage container recycling?
Absolutely wonderful question. It does. So out of that 25%, about 4%, 3 to 4% of that is from the beverage containers from the deposit law. But $33 billion, but tourism in the state is about $24 billion. So think about that. Wait a second. Recycling, composting, turning food waste into soil, turning aluminum cans back into aluminum cans is bigger than tourism in this state? How is that even possible? When I first saw that number, I didn't believe it. I'm like, that sounds nuts. But then I thought to myself, wait a second. Every single thing in this room, look around. The chair you're sitting in, your shoes on your feet, the clothes you're wearing, the ceiling tiles here, the light bulb there, the critical minerals in your phone. Those, at one point, are either going to be, under our current path, buried in a landfill. 75% of everything you're looking at. Or it's going to be turned into a new product. It's going to circulate back into the economy. The critical minerals in your phone could end up into a new product made here in Michigan, or we could stick it in a hole in the ground. Preaching here all of a sudden. You can stick it all in the ground and then go buy something from China and build it and spend our money overseas. Bring your stuff back here, maybe build it overseas even, and then just buy it and go to Walmart and buy it. That's how we're going to do it. Or we could change that system and make sure we get it back and we get those 138,000 jobs that will be created. I'm not saying could be, it will be when we achieve that 45% recycling rate. I'm doing a time check. We got 10 more minutes. Maybe I'll save some time for questions. Or maybe I'll just kill the slides. I don't know. Let's see. Here we go. Oh yeah, this is, you can't see that in the back, but if we share these slides out, I encourage you to go because you have a recycling specialist that covers this state, or this part of the state. His name's DJ. DJ Drost. His phone number's on here. He covers that dark blue part of the state. I'll be seeing him in about an hour when I head down, after I leave here, down to Frankenmuth for our next market development forum where we're bringing economic development organizations, business leaders together to talk about, similar to what you're doing here, Penny, like making sure that we are hearing from the businesses about what is needed, whether it's grants or worker training, infrastructure, to get the system working better to achieve our 45% goal. So we use a best practices framework, and I think we've heard it. I think it's pretty common in a lot of industries. We look at making sure that we've got the infrastructure in place, we've got the end markets, we've got education, and then supporting policies. Michigan, as I mentioned, was one of the first states with a deposit law, one of the first states with an extended producer responsibility law for electronic waste, which means that if you have a TV or a computer at home, the manufacturer of that TV is responsible for making sure the system works. It's not on the backs of government to get the system working. We're saying, hey, manufacturer of television, if you're gonna sell that in our state, you've gotta set up a system so that you're taking it back, and so you have free take back of any television and computer. Many people don't know that. They're sitting in their basement. You can go and click, look up computer take back program or television take back program, and find a place to recycle that. Was that?
I think you had a reverb.
Is that what's going on? Yeah. Thank you for taking care of me.
But you got batteries in case.
All right, awesome. That's good. So, could you get that music too? Or maybe is it just in my head? Am I?
No. Have your own
So, thank you. So, and those supporting policies also include something that's you're going to start hearing about as a business leader or as a community member. There are now 7 states, a handful of countries that have extended producer responsibility, like I just mentioned, for electronics, but it's for packaging and paper, plastic, metal, glass. Your packaging at home. So all of you, a third of you raised your hand when I said, who has a recycling program at home? Well, there's a good reason why most of you didn't raise your hand, because it's not available at your home. And in far too many places in the United States, and particularly in Michigan, it's not available. Well, you gotta first make it available before I go into a school and tell kids, which is very important, by the way, you should ask the question, how do I recycle? How do I do it correctly? Where does this go? How do I turn, is this important? Is it good for the environment? Those are all great questions to ask, but if you go home or you go to school and there's no recycling bin, you've just made a bunch of people upset. Because now you're educating without infrastructure. Whose responsibility right now is it? Right now, today, to make sure that you have a recycling Ben? Well, that's kind of the problem, isn't it? It's not really anybody's responsibility. You may have the choice as a consumer, your business may want to provide it, but you don't have access to it. You can't even ask for it from your hauler or your community. So whose responsibility is it? Is it the local government's responsibility? Is it the hauler's responsibility? Or is it the manufacturer of the product that's selling you that product the responsibility? I have an answer. It's all three. And if anybody thinks it's somebody else's responsibility, if anybody thinks that it's the consumer, well, they're just not asking for it. Or the local government, well, we don't have money to do that. We got all these other priorities. Or the manufacturer, like, well, that's not my problem. I'm only here to sell products. That's our system right now. And that's why 25%, luckily, is coming into the recycling bin, but not 83% or 75%. That's why. So this new policy that you're going to start hearing about is extended producer responsibility, which is moving across the country. It's something that we are making uniquely Midwest in the system that we're doing. We're giving personal choices. We're not mandating it. We're saying, how do we grow the system so that more money comes into the system? Because we know with our $15 million that we're not going to get there all the way there. We need about, at the very least, to get our incremental increases, $200 million a year. Waste management disposal is a $2 billion industry every year. It's $15 million isn't going to get us there. But it's happening in other states. So one of the things that we have done, and I'm going to hit this real fast and then we'll end, maybe a couple of questions. We've developed our circular economy business accelerator and incubator. We recognize to get these good ideas, to create that market demand, to move those materials into the marketplace. We've got to provide a supportive environment for Michigan businesses. So we have an incubator that has had 163 teams go through it, where we give them 6-month training on technical assistance. It's kind of like a Shark Tank at the end, where people pitch their ideas and then we bring money to implement their good recycling ideas. And we are getting nationally recognized for the work that we are doing in this state to grow Michigan businesses. You probably know somebody who has a great recycling idea, who doesn't really know how to get that system going. And we probably know a community that would really like to grow their recycling program, but they don't know how to build a team, get a partnership together, how they work with a hauler, how they get a funding mechanism. That business development incubator, where we're bringing communities and businesses and funding their programs, coupled with our materials management planning process, which is requiring counties and local governments to work together to identify where you want to go as a community for your recycling program. Those two things are going to get us to that 45%. We do have grants available, and we also have, it closes this week, there will be another cycle of teams coming in for selection. Go to NextCycle Michigan and search that. You can go to that on the Eagle website as well, our materials management planning. So if that interests you, if you're interested in getting that third of you that raised your hand, but I saw some of you kind of like, yeah, I raised my hand, but I can't even get it at my house. If you're interested in how that could happen, use that planning process to identify how you can get a recycling program. So this is a little bit more about why we do what we do with NextCycle Michigan, and a little bit about how in markets, there's no sense putting something in a bin if it doesn't have a strong end market. Otherwise, you're just kind of trashing the recycling system. So having those end markets, that end market demand. So think about that as a business leader. How can you be part of that solution by purchasing products made from recycled content and also obviously purchasing services from your haulers, or working with your community to make sure that it gets in the recycling bin. We do a gap analysis every year on that NextCycle webpage. You can look at the gaps, and it has, we got lots of data on where those gaps are, what we need to fill them, and recycling is so complex. I mean, like I mentioned before, everything in this room is going to turn into something. Everything in this room has its unique system: the plastic, the glass, the paper, the textiles. And what better story to tell for West Branch? When I walked into this this hotel, and I saw all the pictures. I saw the pictures of your environmental history, who you are. I even heard it in some of the names, the slide something, and this part of the state is so connected to natural resources. So connected. In fact, that's how most likely, based on the photos as I'm walking in this hotel, that's most likely how this area got its start, understanding the value of natural resources. And so, like I said earlier, we can create our own domestic supply chain of the paper that's turning into products, the wood. There's wood here somewhere. Where's the wood? the wood, making sure that those materials continue to have a legacy. And so part of your story here in this part of the state could be, we have a strong we value our natural resources, and that is why we're going to make sure that our businesses have access to strong recycling programs, and our communities and residents too. So that is my talk, 15 minutes. I think I saved some good time. We probably have time for maybe one question, two questions, and then I will hand it over to Gloria, the next speaker. Yes?
What part of the state is the best at recycling?
Okay, so the part of the state that is the best is the part that has a local government that understands the importance of connecting with those businesses, and brings the businesses in that are in that supply chain. And if I ask a local government, who are your businesses that recycle in your community, and they don't know, they're not the best part. But those communities that do know that answer are the best. For example, a world-renowned county in the United States is Emmett County. And what they did is they built a recycling program based on thinking about that end market in mind. It wasn't just about making sure the resident had access, but it was working with those businesses that had a good story to tell. And then they could go to, and so, by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but recycling is not a partisan issue. Republicans and Democrats want to make sure our environment is protected and our businesses are strong. And the way you do that is by telling the story about how those businesses in your community who are doing the good work are creating the jobs for your community. So Emmett County did that very successfully and was able to get a funding mechanism to make sure that that system was maintained. So that's my answer. I'm sure other people, I'm sure there are other parts. Maybe it'll be West Branch City. Yes?
It seems like ecotourism is a growing trend. How does this program kind of relate to that, and how does each program benefit each other?
Yeah, boy. So I love going to recycling facilities, but I think I might be unique in that. And so is somebody going to show up and and learn about recycling in itself? No, but guess what? When I went to the Ford plant, when they were making the F-150, that kind of was ecotourism, because I was there because I wanted to learn about the recycling side of it. So there's a lot of us out there that care about the environment and want to see how stuff is made. And so that's on the manufacturing side. On the agricultural side, yeah, I got started in, as was mentioned earlier, as Peace Corps Guatemala, and I started working at an agricultural cooperative, and organics and food waste and composting was my game. And so I think there's a good connection on agricultural tourism as well. Telling that story about composting and where that soil goes and working with schools to get the food waste out of the schools and onto the farm. That's another story that you could tell to make those connections. So I am out of time, so I don't want to take any more time. Those are two really good questions, and I really appreciate being able to come here today and talk to you about this. Thank you.
What time do you need me to end? At 9?
Yeah,
9? Okay.
that works. I think Phil's gonna introduce you. I think Phil's gonna
Thank you,
introduce you.
Matt.